Hello everybody. I just want to make this video about LALATE or LALATE. I don't really know how you pronounce it, but this YouTuber in particular is very good. I actually really love his channel because he talks heavily about hazard pay, the stimulus checks, and he updates people. There's a lot of people who do talk about stimulus checks, but this is the only man that I see, with a few exceptions, who actually address hazard pay. So, LALATE, if you end up watching this video, dude, you have no idea how much I and a bunch of other essential employees really do appreciate what you're doing. You have a pretty big platform, and this has allowed essential employees to unionize and feel like their needs are actually being heard, and that again, we really appreciate it. But with that being said, LALATE, I do have one thing I want to bring up with you, and I've been commenting on your videos, but one thing you haven't done is that you haven't really talked about the differences between being on unemployment benefits and being an essential employee. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is because in this video and many others, you've talked about hazard pay, and you say it's a large sum of money, but I'm willing to argue that $10,000 is enough. And again, I don't know if you particularly believe that 10,000 is enough or not, or if you think that it's a good number to compensate essential employees. But I'm gonna watch this video, and then I'm gonna do a little bit of commentary on this, not the whole thing, just this partial clip. But again, this is nothing against him. He's doing a great job, and I do love his videos. So please keep doing this, because not enough YouTubers are speaking up, and I really do appreciate it. So just get into it.
And the good news is it wasn't hazard pay. Hazard pay is a lot of money. Hazard pay is $10,000 per employee, up to $10,000 per employee. That's a lot of money and a lot of employees. Hazard pay employees are anyone who worked essential workers during the pandemic starting in January. Essential workers include everything from grocery stores and pharmacies, Uber and Lyft, shipping, receiving, restaurants, grocery stores, security guards, post office. A lot of stuff is essential workers. The essential workers are defined in the Heroes Fund, which is part of the Heroes Act. So there was no guessing game as to who were essential workers. The definitions were slightly different than what you might be told on a state level or be told by your boss. So the Democrats wanted to make it very clear who was essential worker. They also wanted to make the calculation very clear. It was a lot of money. And that was initially my concern. I'm not concerned about it anymore. So that's also really good news. The essential workers calculation was very simple. Take the number of hours you work from January up to the present, times it by $13 an hour. The number of hours you include in there are part-time hours, overtime hours, partial time, temporary hours, any type of hours. It didn't matter if you worked at multiple essential workers, essential places of work. It didn't matter if you worked in one and was laid off or fired. All of those qualified. The way you would determine whether you made $10,000 is you would take the calculation up to the present and say, okay, what number am I at? If you're at $12,000, bam, you have already reached your threshold. You would get $10,000 if you made $100,000 or less last year. If you made over $100,000 last year, you would get $5,000. I'm doing the calculations really quickly for you, but and I can hear my voice talking very fast. So let me slow it down. Bottom line is, it's a lot of money. The way it would work is the employer would apply for you. You wouldn't apply for it. They would apply to.
So that's sort of the general idea of how this hazard pay is going to work, how much it's going to be, and how it's going to be implemented. And again, I love this guy. He's really great, and I really appreciate his videos. But I just, this, whatever I say now and moving forward, isn't anything about this person in particular. He's just the messenger. He's reading what he's going off of what he's been told or what he's finding out, and he's just distributing the information. So it's nothing against him at all. It's really not. He's doing a great job. I'm really thankful that he did. When he first posted videos, I was so thankful that someone with a larger platform did. But I'm going to be going over what he said just now, and I do have some rebuttal against what he's had to say. Again, it's nothing against him, but let's see, where did it start?
Receiving, restaurants, grocery stores, security guards, post office. That the negotiations fell apart because of one big ticket item. And the good news is it wasn't hazard pay. Hazard pay is a lot of money. Hazard pay is $10,000 per employee, up to $10,000 per employee.
So I'd like to begin here. Yes, $10,000 is sort of a lot, but it's really not at the same time. Because the thing is that if you're on unemployment, you would have made more money or around the same. So you would have had all this free time while being on unemployment, not risking your health, not working harder than ever. Also, while $10,000 is a lot, the value of the USD, the value of the dollar has dropped down tremendously. Every time we do quantitative easing, every time we implement these stimulus checks, every time we do any kind of stimulus to the economy and print more money, the value of and the purchasing power of the dollar goes down. If you don't believe me, you can just look up simple statistics online, or you can just look at the price of goods and groceries around you. Like when we had the first wave of stimulus checks, right? We saw that groceries and certain products went up in price tremendously. The only reason why certain things didn't go up at the time was because oil prices had gone down. And that's because we had a surplus of oil. And because we had a surplus of oil, some goods were going down in value. We're going down in price. But, as we see oils going back up, we're going to find a lot of things just rising in price as more quantitative easing comes out. You're going to find a lot of things that you could have bought before are going to cost more. Like, let's just pretend with $10,000 you could have bought 10,000 $1 burgers off McDonald's. Well, maybe you can't buy 10,000 burgers off McDonald's because you can only buy 9,000 or 8,500 because the purchasing power of the dollar is going down because the demand for the dollar is going down. The more dollars you have in surplus and there's no value being created from it, the value goes down. So just because you have more doesn't mean it's necessarily a good thing. Also, the government has supposedly infinity amount of money. This doesn't mean that the value of your dollar is going up. That's why gold and silver is rising in price. It just means that they can print as much money as they want. But basically, it's a wealth transfer. They're just stealing money in a sense from other people. So like, if someone saved up $100,000 and they print more money and they distribute this money that no one really worked for, that means that the guy who saved up $100,000 for retirement, who's going to live off that $100,000, for example, probably won't be able to live off that $100,000 the more money they print out because the purchasing power is going down. So the $10,000 we knew $10,000 to buy last year can't buy you as many things today because the purchasing power is going down. So 10,000 is sort of a lot, but it's not really. It's not 10,000 like we think it is. Also, again, you could have made more or the same on unemployment, and you're not considering that people on unemployment have more free time than ever, and they're not risking their health.
It's a lot of money and a lot of employees. Hazard pay employees are anyone who worked essential workers during the pandemic starting in January. Essential workers include everything from grocery stores and pharmacies, Uber and Lyft, shipping, receiving, restaurants, grocery stores, security guards, post office. A lot of stuff is essential workers. The essential workers are defined in the HEROES Fund, which is part of the HEROES Act. So there was no guessing game as to who were essential workers. The definitions were slightly different than what you might be told on a state level or be told by your boss. So the Democrats wanted to make it very clear who was essential worker. They also wanted to make the calculation very clear. It was a lot of money. And that was initially my concern. I'm not concerned about it anymore, so that's also really good news. The essential workers calculation was very simple. Take the number of hours you work from January up to the present, times it by $13 an hour. The number of hours you include in there are part-time hours, overtime hours, partial time, temporary hours, any type of hours. It didn't matter if you worked at multiple essential workers, essential places of work. It doesn't matter if you worked in one and was laid off or fired. All of those qualified. The way you would determine whether you made $10,000 is you would take the calculation up to the present and say, okay, what number am I at? If you're at $12,000, bam, you have already reached your threshold. You would get $10,000 if...
So this is another part. Yes, it's great to receive $10,000, but if you actually calculate the amount of hours you've worked, let's just pretend you work full-time, right? If you actually consider and you account for every single hour you worked, and if you work 40 hours per week on average, which if you're a full-time worker, you probably work 40 hours a week, okay? But by then, if you times that by $13 and you started retroactively since January, it would have already, the 10,000 would have already capped out by late May or early June. And for someone like me, who's an essential employee, who's been working more hours than ever, I've been working overtime. I've been working 40, 50, 60 plus hours a week. and my employer can't find anyone else to work for him because people are making so much off unemployment. And I know a lot of other essential employees are going through the same problem too. They're working overtime. They're working like crazy. They're working a position that usually three people would do with the power of one man because no one wants to go back to work. For me in particular, if I just did the 40 hours per week, you would have already capped the 10,000 by late May or early June. And then for me, for example, because I've worked more than 40 hours per week on average, I probably would have capped out maybe by late April, maybe by early May. I don't know. But I would have capped out a long time ago. So that means from late May to early June, and then moving forward, even till today, you wouldn't be receiving hazard pay even if you're an essential employee. So the cap at 10,000, it's not really that much money. You're still not getting hazard pay after that date. So that means if you're on unemployment, if you're an essential employee, you would still be making less money or the same as those on unemployment. And you're not like getting all that free time, and then you're also risking your health, and you're still not receiving hazard pay after that certain date. So your counterpart is making way more money than you, not risking his health and having all that free time to work under the table, focus on himself, focus on his education, focus on his skills, focus on his mental health, spend time with his family, do all these things that he couldn't do when he's plugging away at his job. So the fact that they capped the $10,000 in hazard pay is terrible because people who have been working full time haven't received hazard pay. And again, if you've been working overtime, which I know a lot of essential employees have been doing, your hazard pay of 10,000 has already been capped out. So they're better off. Essential employees who've worked full time are probably better off just collecting that lump sum of $10,000, quitting their job or finding a reason to become fired and then file for unemployment so they can make more money than ever while having free time to focus on their life while receiving that lump sum. But it doesn't this doesn't really help essential employees. It doesn't really make it beneficial to be an essential employee. Still, you're still getting screwed over.
If you made $100,000 or less last year.
That's another thing is that, like, why would you cap it at an income of 100,000 a year? Like, the fact that you're working in a hazardous condition is the reason why you should receive hazard pay. It doesn't matter if you make $5 an hour or $50 an hour. Like, you're getting hazard pay as a right of an American citizen working during a hazardous condition during a global pandemic so bad that they had to shut down an entire global economy. Again, it's not LA's fault. Like, he's just the messenger. He's doing a great job. I'm just saying, like, it doesn't make any sense to cap it at $100,000. It's not right for those people who are still risking their lives.
You made over $100,000 last year, you would get $5,000. I'm doing the calculations really quickly for you, but and I can hear my voice talking very fast. So let me slow it down. Bottom line is, it's a lot of money. The way it would work is the employer would apply for you. You wouldn't apply for it. They would apply to a grant program established by the Act. The grant program would be run by the federal government. The money would be sent to the employer, who would then send it to you. It was really good. If you weren't at those thresholds, or whether it's $10,000 or $5,000, you would still get that lump sum check. And then going forward, you would get $13 an hour. But the other part of the bill that was very, very important, this is also really good news, and was often overlooked.
Well, the fact that our employers have to go out and get it for us is kind of weird. I don't really feel comfortable with that. I think that they should have just had the government issue it. You would figure that if you did your taxes, or if you were to do, I don't know, maybe like because I guess the only reason why they'd want the employer to do it is to push the work about calculating the amount of hours worked onto the employer rather than overload the government with more work. So I guess that makes sense. I hope that they put some kind of incentive to make sure employers gain some kind of monetary gain from doing this so that they actually implement it.
Was the protections of the employees on the workforce, on the job, the ensuring that you were not exposed to COVID-19, that the employer created environments, whether it's the shields or the mask or PPE, it did things to ensure that your safety is a top priority. And so the HEROES Act in creating hazard pay did a lot of great good. But then there was that question. What question, Adelaide? There was that question about those hawks. No, not the hawks that come to eat me and leave my shirt for you to donate to Javita. No, it was those hawks, those Republican hawks who were deficit hawks who did not want to spend a lot of money. They admitted they're deficit hawks. They did not want to spend a lot of money in the stimulus package. The stimulus package from the Democrats was $3 trillion. Yeah, that's a lot.
Well, I'm gonna have to watch the rest of his video after this, but I just want to go over just that portion. If there's more after I watch this video, maybe I'll do a review on it. But you know, LALATE is doing a really good job. I really appreciate it. He's the messenger, so I have nothing against him. I'm actually really grateful to have someone like him, you know, addressing hazard pay and all the stimulus checks. You know, it really means a lot to essential employees like myself. So thank you very much. He's just the messenger. I'm reviewing the message. He's doing a great job. But you know, after watching this video, I've come to the idea that it's still better to be on unemployment. Even if they cut down the unemployment to $400 bonus CARES Act, it's still beneficial to be on unemployment. You'll still make more money if you make less than $20 or $20. And if you make less than $20, or if you make $20, you'll still make an hour. You'll make the same or more on unemployment while having all this free time to do all these other things you want to do with your life. And they're probably just going to keep extending unemployment like how I said. So you know, if you have a lot of things and you're busy in life and you don't like your job, which majority of Americans do not like their job, not career, I would recommend just getting that lump sum because it's capped at 10,000, and then filing for unemployment and then doing whatever you want to do in your life, you know, because the government's letting people do that. People are already exploiting the Unemployment Act anyway, so, you know, might as well become the beneficiary of it as well because, well, no one really cares about essential employees. So you know, if no one cares about you, the government doesn't care about you, non-essentials don't care about you, well, you just gotta play the game, you know? Anyway, I'm gonna watch this video. Maybe I'll do one more review on it just to do a faster one, but you know, I hope you all have a good day. Thank you so much, LALATE, and please check out his channel. He's a really good YouTuber.